Chicago. We got work to do, and we're willing to put in that work.
For the second time in 5 years, change is coming to City Hall. Chicago voters reject Lori Lightfoot, instead sending Paul Vallas and Brandon Johnson to the runoff just 4 weeks away. And good Sunday morning. Welcome to WGN-TV Political Report. I'm Paul Lisnek. With the April 4th race set, the candidates for mayor are wasting no time trying to carve out a winning coalition. Now, for his part, Paul Vallas is touting endorsements from retired Secretary of State Jesse White and his 2019 opponent, Gary Chico.
I think, Jesse White's endorsement helps me with everyone because Jesse has always been a bridge builder.
There's no one who knows more about how to run this city and what it takes to make every neighborhood better and to make every neighborhood safer than Paul Vallas.
Gary Chico, of course, finished 8th in the 2019 mayor's race, just ahead of Vallas. 4 years later, Vallas dominated most of the northwest and southwest sides, as well as the downtown Lakefront and Lincoln Park neighborhoods. Brandon Johnson picked up most of his support further north among so-called Lakefront liberals from Lakeview to Uptown and Rogers Park, as well as further west towards Logan Square and Humboldt Park. Johnson also back on the campaign trail, meeting with voters and trying to highlight the stark contrast between the candidates.
Mr. Vallas is committed to the same type of divisive politics that have left communities behind. And as he has worked hard to defund public schools, I've worked hard to educate.
Well, joining me this morning to talk more about the stunning results and what comes next, North Central College political science professor Suzanne Chod. Professor, good to see you again. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Good morning. Good to see you.
So in many ways, the mayor's loss was sort of a bit of earthquake on the national scene. What was your sense of why the city lost faith in her ability to stay on for a second term?
Yeah. I would think an incumbent mayor running for re-election who was serving during the time of the pandemic is always going to be an uphill battle. But particularly, I think what's been challenging for Lori Lightfoot is that during that time period, and this may be always the case for Chicago, but particularly in the last 2 to 3 years, that there's this national focus on everything that's wrong with the country is what we're seeing in Chicago. And this is particularly coming from narratives, of course, from more conservative media. But if she is running the city that is the city that the whole country thinks is doing the worst, which of course is not the case, then that affects the faith of the voters within the city. And it also opened up an opportunity for quality challengers to come and take advantage of that lost faith because of how she ran the city that the rest of the country thinks is the worst example of an American city. And drawing those quality challengers made it really hard for her.
And we're going to focus in on Chicago, of course, but I do want to follow up with one. Look, this has been covered by national news around the country. Is there a national message? Many are saying Democrats got a warning here. There's a message here on the national level from the Lightfoot defeat. What's your thought?
Yeah, this is super interesting. And we look at some of the other mayoral election results in the past year that suggest that these more progressive candidates, more progressive Democratic candidates had a harder time winning. And while that is the case, I think what the critical thing is about a mayoral race for Democrats is that if the most important issue to all of the voters in that city is crime and safety, then pivoting to the right on those issues serves these Democratic candidates. But when that's not the issue, then pivoting back left actually serves them. And so really for these races, it's issue by issue. And if it's crime and safety, they have to pivot to the right a bit to be able to be competitive or keep their seat.
So let's come back to Chicago. The early voting returns were high, but of course, daytime voting, the day of elections, were very, very low. Only about a little over 30%. What is your thought about why people don't want their voices heard in selecting the city's mayor and even their local alderman who they're going to call when they need a trash can?
It's exactly right. It's this conundrum in American politics where the elected officials that affect you day to day the most are those local officials that you just mentioned. Yet we don't see the value or the importance of getting to know who they are and what they stand for because so much of the focus is on the national level. And because of the nationalization of news, that we're not getting as much of our news, and we're worse for it, from more local stations that focus on those issues. So it's really challenging for us to feel like, because we spend so much time focusing on the national, focusing on what's going on and for whom to vote at the local level. And the one thing I would note also is that because these elections are not when the federal elections are, it's remembering when are they and how do we go and when do we vote. It's an extra task, as will this runoff be in April.
Let's talk about the runoff. The city really couldn't have a more diverse choice of candidates, from
Absolutely.
the incredibly progressive Brandon Johnson to the much more conservative Paul Vallas. What's your sense of the tone on that spectrum among the Chicagoans today?
You know, it's a really interesting illustration of who votes in elections, right? So in local elections, and then in a runoff, particularly to the point of your question, is that those who vote in a runoff at any level are going to be have the highest amount of information and also the most ideological. So it's not a surprise, regardless of the runoff, even coming out of the election on the 28th, that those who went out to vote were the most knowledgeable and the most ideological. And so we ended up with two very different types of candidates. And that gets us to this runoff where who comes out is they're also going to be the most knowledgeable and the most ideological. It's going to be a battle of which pockets of Chicago come out. Is it going to be mostly Black voters? Is it going to be mostly white voters and Latino and Hispanic voters that broke for Vallas or that preferred him if they did not vote for Garcia?
Do you have a sense, look, Democratic Socialists on city council certainly have a growing influence. Do you have a sense that the factor of whether people want a check on those progressives with a Paul Vallas or to further the work of those social democrats on the council in a Brandon Johnson, does that affect voters, do you think, or this is just about who they like better as the mayor?
Yeah, in terms of a mayoral election, the last thing you said is correct. It's about who do you like better. At national elections, we tend to think about that balance a little bit more, although less than we used to. But really now, for mayoral, most local elections, it comes down to who do I like the best? Who will serve me best?
By the way, for addressing crime, Brandon Johnson's made it clear he's got $1 billion package involving some fees and taxes and such. People want crime addressed. What is your sense of how they'll react to hearing about new taxes and fees that could be coming their way to pay for it?
Yeah, I mean, right now with inflation high and housing prices, any time that we hear about more taxes, we're going to bristle a little bit. And for governor elections, we know that the thing that affects voters the most on for whom they support is taxes and the economy. With mayoral elections, it might look a little bit different. But I think what Brandon Johnson has to do now that he knows he's behind a little bit on this issue is figure out a way to have a concrete plan where people say, I like the other things about him and he can handle crime, so I will vote for him.
Going to be interesting. North Central College professor Suzanne Chod, thanks for spending part of your Sunday with me. Have a good week.
You as well. Thanks so much.
Sure. All right, we're going to take our first break. Coming up next on WGN-TV Political Report, Mayor Lori Lightfoot appointed 4 city council members over the last year. Well, now one of them is out of a job. The other 3, they're headed to runoffs. We're bringing you inside the race for the 43rd Ward next.